Yeah, so we are live now. Hi, Abhigya.
Yeah, Jai Shri Krishna, Bhaiya.
Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Krishna. How are you, Abhigya?
Yes, I'm fine, Bhaiya. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. So, hi everyone, a very good afternoon to all of you. So, today we have Abhigya Anand. In this world of pandemic where everyone is, praying to God 24/7, this kid believes from a long time since his birth that believing in God can solve all of your problems. So he is none other than Abhigya Anand, the child prodigy who predicted coronavirus a long way before it came and uploaded video danger to the world. So hi Abhigya, welcome to our official Facebook page.
Thank you. Jai Shri Krishna, Bhaiya.
Jai Shri Krishna, Abhigya. So Abhigya, introduce a little bit about yourself.
So, um, my name is Abhigya Anand, and I love to research on various subjects, including Ayurveda, astrology, management, finance, and banking, and along with that, Vastu Shastra, architecture, and so these are my favorite subjects, among many others which I'm still learning. But in these, I'm doing a lot of research at the present moment.
Okay. So Abhigya, in the generation of technology, how did you got interest into astrology?
So of course, technology is a rapidly evolving, a field today, and we humans have started to believe that we were smarter than the ancients, and we feel that we are evolving in the forward direction of technology. And in some ways, it's officially an amazing achievement by modern humans, but we have overlooked the fact that our ancients had also done a lot of amazing things. In fact, more than us, which I shall explain now. Um, in the coming few minutes, but they are amazing prodigies in the field of technology. They're doing a lot of good things to the world, but along with that, technology in its totality is actually leaving a slightly negative mark on the face of the earth, according to me at least. But as I move forward, I'm going to explain this. But astrology to me, and actually speaking, is such an amazing and huge subject that focuses on the interactions of the planets and the stellar influences of the stars, and along with that, the galaxies and so many other stellar regions around the earth. They all have effect on the earth. If not the galaxies other than the Milky Way galaxy we're living in, at least the ones around the earth, they actually surround the earth. Our earth is just a small speck in the in the vicinity of these huge planetary movements, and the planetary positions. It's such a small speck, tiny speck of dust. Our earth is so small. So anybody who has a scientific mind will surely agree that our earth is constantly being affected by these influences, but we do not exactly know in which way. And for that, astrology, the science of astrology, is present. Modern science cannot actually uh, prove whether astrology is true or false, because it doesn't have the right systems, the right technology to be able to show whether the planets are affecting the earth or not. At the moment, we do not have the technology, and our ancient sages had it, and they were able to tell us what will happen in the future, as proven now also. So at the moment, astrology is such a powerful science, and that's why I got interested in it after studying Sanskrit and Bhagavad Gita. It automatically came my way by God's grace, so I just picked it up, and I continued researching on it.
Okay. To an extent, Abhigya, it is very nice to know the basics of astrology. So what was the reason behind that, you provoked you to dig into deeper to our Indian history of Ayurveda?
Ayurveda, yes, Ayurveda is actually a very crucial subject, even for people who want to study astrology. Ayurveda is very important. Ayurveda is the first system of medicine in the whole world. Um, and it actually gave birth to the Chinese system of medicine, which traveled across the different continents of the world. And in fact, each human has an innate medical system that God has conferred upon us. For example, even other animals like dogs, etc., know what to do when they have a particular disease. Cows eat certain herbs, as proven by research, when they have certain health conditions. In the same way, humans have this genetic and deep instinct of following a system of medicine. And the first one that was ever presented to humans by God was this Ayurveda. And Ayurveda was the most advanced. Whereas other animals have basic systems of medicine integrated into their genes, Ayurveda is so advanced because our body is also very advanced, with the the function of our mind. Even though other animals have bigger bodies, our body is small, compact, yet having so much within it, and therefore we need a advanced system of medicine, and that God has given us in the form of 1 lakh verses of Ayurveda by Lord Brahma at the beginning of creation. He also gave a medical system to us to solve the issues presented by nature. For example, microbial diseases, lifestyle diseases, etc. And therefore, it's a very crucial and important subject. Even modern science is now finding that it is defunct in many areas. It is less in many areas, and it needs to borrow a lot of facts from Ayurveda, which is being proven. Every single pandemic hits us, this particular science is being proven.
Okay. So Bigya, we have lost, so much to our ancient history, but you still make me believe that, India is Sone ki chidiya. Okay. So very nice to hear such words from you. Bigya, what are the educational qualifications you have done so far?
So the educational qualifications are as follows, Paya. So first, it started with the Bhagavad Gita, quite informal, just by hearting the Bhagavad Gita, and that just came like a play for me. My mother introduced it as a game to me, that other children play various sorts of board games and stuff like that, or they listen to nursery rhymes. My mother thought that instead of using nursery rhymes as a basic education, she wanted me to begin with something like Bhagavad Gita that would take me on a very bright path in understanding our lives. So basically, I started with Bhagavad Gita, completed the 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita by heart. My sister also has done the same. But I completed it in 6 months. And after that, I went forward to Sanskrit. In Sanskrit, I studied for around 3 years. And in 3 years, the last 2 years of these 3 years, 5 years I've studied Sanskrit, out of which the last 2 years I completed my literature course in Sanskrit, that's Sahitya from the government of Karnataka. And also another course that is Pravesha, the highest course of the Sura Saraswati Sabha in Sringeri, after which I'm eligible to teach Sanskrit. And also after Sanskrit, I ventured into astrology. While studying Sanskrit, I already actually got into astrology because I found that board hanging somewhere, and then I got into that place where they were teaching astrology. It was a college in Mysore. So I got into that place, and they were like perplexed whether I will be able to understand or not. And in that flow, I actually learned astrology. For 3 years, I completed the course of the Jyotisha Vidya Bhushana. And after that, I also did my when I was 10 years old, I completed my post-graduation in Ayurvedic microbiology from the Maharshi Vedavyas Virtual Vedic University, which is affiliated to the Gujarat University. And also I completed my management course from the Hoba University of Greece. And I have completed my bachelor's degree in Vastu Shastra, and I'm the youngest to do so by God's grace, from the Maharshi Vedavyas Virtual Vedic University for 3 years.
Yeah. So, at this just age of 11, you have completed so much of degrees and, have done post-graduation. That is actually really amazing. And, we are very proud to, recognize top 100 child prodigies, and you are one among them. So we are very proud to have you. So just a funny question that comes to mind. It's, do you sometimes feel yourself that you have completed so much of education just at the age of 11?
Um, well, well, I feel very glad that I have been able to do this by God's grace, because God has guided me in this path along with my parents. So my parents have also introduced me to so many subjects that are generally not introduced by parents of other children that go through the regular schooling. But there are many exceptional cases, though, that generally come out very successful. So my parents also just introduced me in various subjects, and that I'm actually very proud of.
Yeah. So, Abhigya, also that do you feel that other kids, who are studying this modern technologies, should follow the path of Ayurveda and astrology?
Of course, as I said, technology is a really wonderful field where you can actually help humanity in various ways. Just like a knife, it can do both positive things and even negative things. But there are many innovations that have done a lot of good and many that have done bad. So through the sciences of ancient India, through dharma, through studying morality of our ancient shastras, we can understand which is actually beneficial in the long term for humanity and which is not. So yeah, along with that, Ayurveda is very important. So is astrology, because we need to understand as humans the interactions of the planets with Earth, which cannot be proven by scientific machinery completely, because scientific machinery is not yet that developed to prove that. So it will be very good if children from various communities of the world try to understand Ayurveda, especially, most importantly, and astrology also, if they do have the time to study it.
Okay. Abhigya, who is your inspiration and role model that you started moving forward to this path?
So actually, my mother introduced me to these subjects, and after that, there were many there were many inspirational personalities that I've come across, including various great people, but not in this field, in other fields that have motivated me. For example, um, um, people who fight for the purity of our food and also for the purity of the earth, like Vandana Shiva, etc. I read her books and many other people like that, but mainly it's my mother and my father who have put me on in the path of understanding various subjects. They introduce me to various subjects. Like if a child is given a choice, automatically the child, if it's interested in doing various things, it'll automatically venture into each one of these things.
So Abhigya, also that I know that you speak a lot of languages. So how many languages do you speak? And
um, I speak Sanskrit with my sister, and also write and read Sanskrit. I speak Tamil. I write and read and also speak Tamil. And I also write, read, and speak Kannada because I live in Karnataka. I knew German, but then I forgot it because I was very small when I was in Germany, 6 years old. So I used to speak fluent German at that time, but now I forgot it due to a long gap. And of course, English. And after that, Sindhi. Sindhi was my mother tongue, and it's my mother tongue. So I was speaking Sindhi from when I was very small. So that's a language I speak and I understand, but I don't know yet how to write it. It's a very antique language.
okay. So a very important question that that made a global news, that a 11-year-old kid from India predicted COVID-19 ahead of when it came. So how did you do it?
So actually, in August 2019, I was actually just looking at the planetary positions as usual every day, as I do it every day. And while looking at each one of these planetary positions, I analyzed what where the planets are moving in November. Like you can do this even 1,000 years back. You can do this 10,000 years back, because the movement of the planets is in a particular fashion and it doesn't change time to time. Just that comets and other extraterrestrial activities, celestial activities might be going on in the skies, but that doesn't mean the planetary positions will change. So I was looking at this November to April planetary position, and it was looking very strange to me. Not only strange, but very haunting also, because the planetary positions were moving towards a particular level, especially coming towards March and April. It was coming somewhat very mysterious, and I was thinking for a lot of time, what could it be? It is surely supposed to be something that's going to rock the world with disaster. It could be anything. So I was trying to bring the most likely things that could happen. For example, if there could be a war, there could be a war, or if there could be a transport industry fall, because the planetary positions do have it hidden, just that our minds that are quite low in trying to understand them are not able to understand them perfectly and to the moment. So I just got a few things that could happen during this period. For example, the transport industry collapse, or there could be a war, or a widespread disease that will rock the entire world. And I've spoken about that in this video. So in that, Jupiter actually moves towards the sign of the sign of Sagittarius, closer to Ketu. And every time it does this, there has been an epidemic or a pandemic in the past. For example, the previous SARS was also having such a yoga, and even another yoga. And just like that, even in the past, we had various pandemics, and all these were preceded by some or the other strange planetary influence. So I analyzed everything, including wars of the past, economic collapses of the past. And now I believe that the main danger is the economy. And therefore, I focused on the economy more in that video, because that was what was looking extremely fishy to me. And that's what is going to happen according to me. So November 4th is when I actually gave the window starting time of danger, and April end as the climax of something that could occur within this period, something that would begin or whatever within this period. And that's how I found it.
That is actually very interesting. So Bigya, according to astrology and your research, when these things will get sorted?
So as I've explained in my videos, actually the way the situation is being handled, the pandemic situation, the way it's being handled is not correct, because people are overdosing themselves with chemicals during this period, thinking that that will prevent them from getting any disease. They are even people who don't have any symptoms are taking chemicals to prevent any disease, but they do not understand that consuming highly changed chemicals in their form of material nature, these chemicals can destroy our immunity, can bring down our body's natural ability to fight any particular disease. So the way it's being handled, I don't think it will be finished even for a long time, because people are taking antibiotics even when they don't have symptoms, and even when it's not even effective against any virus. People are taking dangerous stuff like hydroxychloroquine and many more things which have been proven by research. People are taking so many things, and even patients are being given dangerous drugs. I've proven them in my video to be dangerous, including top drugs such as tocilizumab and also remdesivir, etc. But not only that, people are doing so many more things, staying completely indoors and not even giving themselves a little bit of fresh air and even sunlight. And therefore, this pandemic, if everyone stays at home constantly, not only the coronavirus disease, but many more infectious and highly fatal diseases will arise if people don't take care of their health now. But whatever it is, after November 2021, things will start getting better. In my previous video, I talked about June 30th, and the recovery rate and everything will start getting better during that period. But the cases are rising because of people staying completely at home and locking themselves up, blocking themselves from every single type of natural things, and they are constantly sticking themselves to devices and spoiling their health. So that is the reason for the present situation increasing so rapidly. But everything will surely get better in November 2021, post November 2021.
Okay. So Abhigya, any suggestion you would like to give to people to during this pandemic period?
Yes, actually, in my previous videos, I've given a lot of things. It was banned twice on YouTube, including the solutions, what people can do if they have the symptoms or if they don't have the symptoms, what they can do to boost their immunity. And I don't know why it was banned by YouTube, but going forward, the simple things during this pandemic, keeping the pandemic at the center of this particular question, I would like to say that people need to boost their immunity. That's number one. And number two, they need to just remove all the fear from their minds, which is constantly being poured in by different sources of information that people are getting, and stay out of technology at least for a few hours in a day. Connect with nature. I'm not talking about technology that's vital, like jobs of people. I'm not talking seriously, I'm not telling people to stay out of their jobs and stuff like that. I'm just saying that today, according to statistics, people are wasting more time on unnecessary social media, not necessary social media, but unnecessary social media for a lot of time. They need to stay out from unnecessary technology use and connect themselves with nature more, and that will remove the fear and boost people's immunity. They need to garden, and so many more things we can do to boost our immunity and prevent any particular pathogen from afflicting us. And also the sunlight is very important, and turmeric, giloy, that is Amritavalli, Tinospora cordifolia, and many more herbs like ashwagandha, etc., need to be consumed. I explained this back in April. Because they are highly antiviral in their properties, and also gargling the mouth with coconut oil has been proven to be very effective. So many more things can be done instead of just gorging on a lot of chemicals to prevent a disease. That's not going to work.
Okay, I'm very sure people will take care of your suggestions, and they will definitely consider it on a very serious manner. Bigya, a very important question comes that do you feel that astrology is always right?
Just like any other science, astrology is right because it's a science after all. And people who say it's a pseudoscience have not understood it well. But whenever there is a mistake in a particular prediction, it is the mistake of the person who is using the science and not the science. For example, people who study law, they make mistakes in law, and history proves it, of course. People who study medicine, they have made tremendous mistakes in medicine. There are many people who have made tremendous mistakes. We can't say that modern medicine has been guileless, without any particular mistake. So we can't blame it on the science, because the science is faultless. The science tells us the truth. And people who use the science, it depends on them, how they take it, how they utilize it. Sometimes we misinterpret a particular science. So that's not the blame of the science, but the person who uses it. And
So,
wherever it goes correct, it is the credit of the science and not of the person who uses it, but a little bit of credit for the person for doing it the right way. That's how.
okay. So Abhigya, you were talking about science and astrology at the same time, but astrology and science have been always most controversial topic in today's era. What made you believe that astrology can be true?
So it's the way we define science. Science in Sanskrit is called Vijnanam, and that is accepted by even modern scientists. Vijnanam means that which is proven as knowledge, that which is useful as a particular knowledge, a study of a particular subject in a particular method that has been proven to be correct for usage of humans or any particular organism. And now here, astrology is such an advanced science, as I explained. It is talking about the entire vicinity of the earth, whatever is there in the vicinity of humans, all the stars and the planets that constantly affect us. Only a person who has not studied the actual meaning of science will say that science is but astrology is pseudoscience, and the earth cannot be affected by any particular planet around it. That is absolute foolishness, because the earth is surrounded by a blanket of so much of stellar influence and planetary influence. And if our scientific equipment cannot even detect these influences, we cannot say it is not present, and we cannot conclude it. And basically, from time to time, astrology is being proven correct, and predictions are being proven correct. So people who say that have not taken the definition of science properly. It is a controversial topic, and many people talk about this. But the truth is that we have not yet found the actual equipment to say whether the planets are affecting us or not, but they are affecting us, as proven right now.
Okay. So Abhigya, I was also reading that you have launched a number of campaigns. What was your motive behind Swachh campaign, which you initiated long back, uh, for against junk food?
Yes, it was called the Swachha Sharira campaign, and the Swachha Sharira campaign was actually targeted more towards the children and also their parents, towards a family unit. Why? If the question is why, it means that
No, what was the campaign is all about, and um,
the campaign was all about eradicating the use of junk food, because junk food is basically one of the most horrendous things that people are consuming today. Today, a child can't taste the flavor of any homemade food. It is completely surrounded with diseases like diabetes, cancer, lifestyle diseases mainly. And lifestyle diseases, their precedence is increasing minute by minute. People are getting so many diseases. And the root cause, one of the root causes of this, is junk food, according to me and according to science. So Ayurveda also proves that eating such dangerous stuff loaded with a lot of toxins, sugar, carbohydrates, and so many more things. So I've spoken about for 3 hours in each college or school about this topic, trying to explain to children. And in fact, more than the parents, many children themselves came up to me and said that, yes, we will stop eating junk food. And that was a really good thing for me, because I was happy that I'm able to change at least one person in a group of 100 or 1,000 people.
that is very nice. We should definitely think about it, and stop consuming junk food to the max possible. Abhigya, you have also done post graduation in Ayurveda microbiology. I am very sure it would have been a tough journey. Would you like to talk about the material present on these topics for teenagers like you?
Yeah, so the Ayurvedic microbiology is actually a very advanced subject. It deals with the modern microbiology and how modern microbiology works. Everything that is unseen has been explained in the Vedas. The Vedas have so much information that everything that is contained in the universe has been explained. The origin of the universe has been explained. The psychology of humans and of the universe itself, called the Brahmanda, has been explained. So our Vedas have to be revered, first of all. Second of all, Ayurveda, as I explained, is a very important medical science. First of all, medical sciences, and is also the source of what we have today as different parts of medical system. Some of them corrupted, some of them not corrupted, some of them present in the original form. And Ayurveda has a lot of herbs that Mother Nature has given to us to protect us from disease, especially for humans. Most of these have been kept high atop trees, surrounded with thorns, so that only humans can procure them. We need to understand the value of these herbs. We need to use them. We need to use them for the good of humanity. Especially microbiology, some people think that was not known by any ancient person, and that some modern scientists discovered that they were microbes. But when I studied Ayurvedic microbiology, I was shocked to know that this particular science is filled with so much truth about things that we have not seen. Krimi is the basic word for it, but every single movement of these microbes has been explained. So my dear friends, we have the movements of these microbes, we have the intricacies of the microbes, their life, the life of microbes, their DNA, their RNA, all these things, the genders, their colors, and the way they move and their shapes. For example, some of them are cocci and some of them are just straight cylindrical. In simple terms, we can explain them, or if we take it to scientific terms, we'll go to a different subject. But this science is all about analyzing microbes, their structures, and so many more things. And I was myself shocked, because I was, before that, when I was 9 years old, I was studying 10th standard biology. So 8th, 9th, and 10th standard biology. So I was myself shocked, because the biology books told me that it's only modern science that has found microbes, and I wanted a course especially on virology. So I told my mother to search for me a special course, an advanced course on virology. So my mother searched something Ayurvedic, so that it would be better. And then I studied Ayurvedic course relating to microbiology, and that was from the Rishi Kandwa Vedic Microbiology Research Institute. And also from the also from the Maharshi Vedavyas Virtual Vedic University Institute, which is headed by Dr. Chakradhar Fen, and he helped me a lot in this particular science. So I'm very grateful to him. He encouraged me a lot and gave me the right resources to study it.
It is actually very marvelous to listen that at this young age, you have done so much and have a great dedication towards your work and aim. You are really an inspiration for the world. And talking about the support, do you get support from the people around you?
Yes, very much. People around me, in the sense, my family gives me a lot of support, but friends and relatives, not so much. Because they have a different thinking of life, and we have a different one. So our maternal side of grandparents have molded into our lifestyle, and they have seen very good change in their health, in their psyche, before which they were living in the city and they had a very bad lifestyle, and now they've slowly changed, and they are themselves seeing the change in their bodies and in their minds. So we are living a totally different lifestyle. We are cut off from the city, we're living away. So most people do not mold in with us. So they don't support, obviously.
Okay. So you have not been to a formal school, you have been homeschooled.
I was formally schooled, and that's the reason why we moved to homeschooling, and that's the reason why we skipped it altogether for my sister. It started with in Bangalore when I was very young, 5 years old. I was studying in just for 2 months, of course, just for 2 months in a school called New Horizon Gurukul in Bangalore. So in that school, of course, the name is Gurukul, but we know what happens inside. It's all just a factory system, just generating people to work in multinational corporations, or if they don't, put them in the lowest level of the society. If they do, put them in higher levels, but working as slaves. And even my father regrets today by being a product of this particular schooling, because he's forced to do what he doesn't even like. He wanted to be something else, but he's now forced to do this because the schools, they direct people towards one particular subject, to be able to support an organization, not to do something of your own. And I have been to formal schooling, starting with that school. And second of all, I was schooled in a public school in Germany. when I was in Germany. And after that in Melbourne, in Australia, a school called Erasmus School, 2 months. And then when I was back in India, uh, we started homeschooling because we are fed up of the whole system.
Yeah. So, Abhigya, do you have friends?
Friends, yes, to play. Actually, I used to go to a government school in India also after we came back to India for a short period of time for me to learn Kannada and to socialize with children. Basically, the government school children who are from the, most of them are from the BPL, below poverty line. Some of them are just above the poverty line. So they are really wonderful children. They have so many skills that go often unrecognized, because these children are able to go from a tree to the other. And um, actually, when I was awarded the 100 the Global Child Prodigy Award for astrology, I really felt that, I was glad, but I felt that there are many more children who have so many more talents, but they're unrecognized. And that's what I was trying to say. So these children are able to do so many things. I was socializing with them, I was playing with them. They have so many things to teach me. Value of food. They don't waste a single grain. And they are so they eat every single grain of food with so much dedication. And I learned that from them, because we generally don't get it. Being from the cities, we waste food, we waste the advice we get from elders, we do everything in our own whims and fancies. But these children have a way of life. That way of life needs to be learned. And wherever I could help them in anything, I used to help them.
What are you learning nowadays, Abhigya?
Nowadays, actually, I'm preparing universal standards for prosperous property commerce for Vastu, and how each home should actually be designed, etc. Along with that, I'm also preparing a Vastu Shastra module to condense the science of Vastu Shastra, because it's spread across lakhs of verses, and to bring it into a simple way for people to understand and use. Along with that, I'm also doing advanced research on mundane astrology, and how the planets influence us in a deeper way, because that's an everlasting subject. We need to study from the annals of creation to the present. So I'm doing that also. I'm studying toxicology and how various toxins can affect us, including those from the medicine industry, those from the food industry, etc. So that's what I'm doing.
Okay. That is actually too much and amazing.
Thank you. It's all by God's grace, Bhaiya.
Yeah. So, Bigya, you said you spoke about Global Child Prodigy Awards function where you recognize. So, how was your feeling, and how did you felt after getting recognized as top 100 child prodigies?
Yes. Yes, I was very glad. I was very glad about it. But one thing is that at the same time, I was feeling that there's so many more children, and that you're doing a very great job, Bhaiya, to bring out every year amazing talent and recognizing talent of various children, and also along with the ones that are present in some or the other form in media, etc. There are many more thousands who are not present, and they are, but they still deserve, they equally deserve various awards. So it's a wonderful job you're doing to bring out the children from various parts of the world and give them this award. I was feeling very good about it.
Yeah, that is so nice, and we are also very proud to recognize you are top 100 child prodigies of the world, and you are, you are proud of the nation and youngest astrologer of the world.
Thank you.
So very proud of you, Abhigya. So Abhigya also is talking about, do you feel that which is better, like for parents, the homeschooling part or the formal education part?
Homeschooling is actually the best thing, because the formal education does not want, it's a very simple thing and everyone will agree to this. The formal education system is simply meant to take children to a particular level wherein they will be able to serve a particular corporation or a company. And only some of these people, after studying everything they do not need and not studying things that they need, they finally realize that they have to do something else in life. For example, if you ask many successful people in their lives, are you doing things that you actually learned in your school? They'll say only 10% or only 20%. Rest of it I've learned from experience after falling into ditches hundreds of times. This is what many successful people will tell us. And even after realizing this, we are continuing in the form of formal schooling, and formal schooling does not pay individual attention to each child. And that's a simple thing, because each child has a different way of thinking. It's a born with a different samskara comes from the previous births, and formal schooling lacks this concept. The very fact that there are so many talented prodigious children across the world is because in their past births they were able to do something. Some children are able to do tremendous things at the age of 2, 3, 4, and 5 and 6, which is virtually impossible for us to even to even imagine. And that is surely because in their previous births they have done something, or else it's not possible, isn't it? So this samskara is what is absent in formal schooling. They don't recognize the samskara. They do not give individual attention. Each child has a different interest, and that is not given importance. That is not taken care of. So therefore, homeschooling would be the best. And parents have control in homeschooling. They know what to give. And in some cases, parents might not be able to teach certain subjects. For example, some parents who do not know English very well, some parents do not know certain forms of science very well, so they can hire tutors for it, just like the school does it. So instead of going and paying money at schools and taking a child to a particular level and to do a particular job, let the parents mold the children in various things is what I would request.
Yeah, that is actually very nice. So Abhigya, we have heard that your sister is also following your paths of Ayurveda and astrology. How do you help her in this?
Yes, I also help her. Like for example, I teach her the shlokas, and I teach her Sanskrit, and I just help her to understand. But at the end of the day, she does her own research, and surprisingly, she brings her own findings to me and her own views to me, and she expresses her own ways of medicine to me, and that is a really amazing thing. And that's where homeschooling brings its talent out, because a child is given room to be able to give its own opinion on every single thing, its own research on every single thing. And she also has made various videos under the title Healing Herbs from Heaven. Um, and that she explains each one of the herbs and what all she has studied about it from various research articles, etc. So my mother prints the articles and gives it to us. And instead of more online information, we get from online to offline through printing, and we keep studying it. And it's not any way lesser than what people get online. Everything that is relevant online is printed and given to us offline. So we do study a lot in that, and my sister also does a lot of research in that.
Yeah, it is rightly said that our first teacher is our family.
Yes.
So moving ahead. So Abhigya, talking about the future plans, what is your future plans? What goal you have set for you?
So in the near future, I plan to make Vastu and astrology easier for people to use in daily life. For example, reading the Panchanga is very important. Understanding different are very important. And and I want to make it clear for the people not to label astrology and Vastu Shastra as pseudoscience, and second of all, as blind faith. Some people are going around, they're going around marauding about these things, that astrology is pseudoscience, Vastu Shastra is pseudoscience. So I'm trying to make this clear for people who have this particular thought, and even for the general public, to make it easier for them to understand each particular portion. Like for example, the Amavasyas, the Purnimas, to know such basic things, to let children know about the basic versions of astrology to be used in various parts of their life will be very helpful. And also Ayurveda and Vastu, especially because Vastu is it can be condensed and made easy for people. So I'm developing a system for that at the moment.
Okay, so uh, along with you practicing astrology, you also receive a lot of loathing comments. So how do you react on that?
Yes, so there are many people, as I said, some people are not able to swallow that something tremendous is happening through the system of homeschooling, through the system of Ayurveda, astrology, and so many other subjects, or a small child is speaking about something that is not spoken by even people who are older, so they're not able to swallow it. Some people express their gratitude, some people not able to swallow it, so they express their jealousy through comments. So I understand that absolutely it is a disease, it transforms itself into a disease, it's a disease of jealousy. So I understand it, and I just brush them aside, or just express my pity for them. That's all I do, because they some of them attack us on the field of homeschooling. What, your children don't know anything, they're not exposed to the outside world. But it depends on how we are exposed to the outside world. Parents can't just let children go free in the outside world. There is a particular method to go. And once we are able to understand the outside world, that's when we should enter into it. And that's what my parents do. And it's not that I do not know how to handle technology. I also have studied other portions of the laptop with supervision of my parents. So I do get exposure from all sides, but some people do not understand it. So just brush them away. That's all I do.
Okay. That is important also. Otherwise, you cannot take everything on your head.
Correct. So
Okay.
many people have their own views, and if we keep trying to force those views on our own selves, if it's advice with some logic, it's fine. But there are many people who just keep on prattling without any logic in the statements, so just leave them aside.
Yeah, you can't explain, each and everything to everyone, right?
Yes, very true.
So, Abhigya, there is something which is, every one of us is facing, or most of the audience is facing, is depression. So, what is your advice and view on depression?
Correct. Very, very true, Bhaiya. Especially during this period, this question is really, really correct and is really apt for this situation. During this time, depression has spiked up so heavily because people are locked in their homes, and that's the particular best proof for it. And depression has been linked to low immunity levels also. So it's one more thing, one more reason, very important reason to be talking about it. Depression can cause low immunity, can force us to become weak and tired, get scared, and get susceptible to any particular disease, including the coronavirus, as proven by science. So it's very important for us to battle depression. And it's proven, number one, that people who stay inside their homes without sunlight and fresh air will get depression within a period of at least 1 week. Number two, people who will get depression is people who are constantly on devices and not having connection to each other. Why? Because we humans were never born with smartphones and laptops. We were born with a connection with humans and with nature. We always being closer to nature than to devices. I don't know what will be in the future, but at least now we are wired to nature. So if we try to unwire from nature, if we try to unwind from nature, we try to pull from nature, we will be depressed. And that's one very important thing. So I request people who want to come out of their depression or who don't want to get depression altogether to stay away from devices, because one more reason is the devices force us to release dopamine. Dopamine is a hormone which makes us feel happy. So if you get some notifications on YouTube or on Facebook, dopamine is released in your body, and that's proven by research. So when you keep releasing amounts of dopamine, you won't be able to release dopamine when there is actually a happy, natural, happy situation. And therefore, you will become depressed due to overreaction of your body to technological stimuli. So that's very important. We need to reduce the technological stimuli that forces us to get artificially happy, not naturally happy. And third of all, to change the system of food and lifestyle to a more natural lifestyle. And I've explained that in my videos, in my 3-hour long lectures, and people can refer to them for more information. And also to have faith in God, because when we stop having faith in God, every trouble we get, we will be hopeless. We will have no hope. Theism, people who are having faith in God, they will have better immunity. For one reason is that they will have hope. Every situation, they have hope. So when there is hope, there is good immunity. That is also proven by research, because there's no fear. There's less fear, at least. And that is very good for us.
So, in the world of diverse caste and religion, what do you advocate of it?
So whatever I've been saying from the past, that is about astrology, Ayurveda, and so many more things, and lifestyle changes are applicable to every single caste, every single community, creed, gender of this world. Because with certain modifications, our Vedic knowledge can be applied to every single sector of humanity, and can be brought into use in every single sector. So faith in God is first most important thing, because if we don't have faith in God, who is the source of this universe, the universe can't just come like some magic wand. So someone has, even if it's magic, someone has to wield the magic wand. And it can't come out of just matter, because there should be some promotion, some energy that comes out. And that is the common factor in Islam, in Hinduism, and in Christianity, in every religion of the world. So we need to accept this one fact of theism and understand that the world is full of positivity, and negativity is very, very less. So positivity is more in our hearts. We need to bring it out. When we bring out positivity, the world becomes more beautiful. So that's common to every single caste. We should not keep fighting between one religion and the other, because astrology is the science of the planets. It doesn't belong to any particular religion, but it of course belongs to the whole world. And the whole world is something called Sanatana Dharma, that is eternal morality, eternal eternal religion, and the eternal religion is not bound by any particular country, any particular civilization. It is for the whole world, and it began with our Vedas. So that's what I would say for the entire world.
That is actually a very nice thing you have said, Abhigya, that astrology do not belong to any particular
Yes,
religion.
Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That's what we say. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The whole world is our family.
Okay, that is very nice. I know this session is taking a little longer, but we are overly excited to have you, and I would like to
Thank
ask
you.
few more questions.
Sure.
So, Abhigya, do you think Ayurveda can cure all the diseases in today's life?
Yes, Ayurveda is capable of curing diseases, but as they see prevention is better than cure, Ayurveda focuses more on prevention, whereas allopathy focuses more on cure. But that cure also becomes a flop show because of no prevention. There is no prevention. When you go to doctors who have studied just the system of just the system of allopathy and come out just to the same system, they try to defend their views. That's a different topic, but they are enforcing only uh, chemically changed cures towards every single disease. Ayurveda focuses on the root of the disease, whereas allopathy focuses on the symptoms of the disease. Ayurveda focuses on the presence of the disease and its root, whereas allopathy just focuses on the surface of the disease. So if there's disease in the eye, Ayurveda goes to the deeper system. What is wrong with this person's health? Is it with the mental situation, or is it just a body situation, or is it an injury? Whereas allopathy just moves around just the eye. So in this basic system, allopathy fails and Ayurveda wins. So Ayurveda is capable of curing every disease if noticed at the first period. If the disease goes at the highest level, even then Ayurveda can cure it. For example, there are many examples of high level cancer, fourth level cancer coming down to full cure just by consuming tulsi juice only for the particular patient. And this comes in news time to time. In fact, even the coronavirus has been tackled easily by our herbs. It is not that the herb is powerful or the herb is weak. The herb is certainly powerful, but our immunity is what is powerful or weak. We need to build our immunity. Along with that, use the herbs. We can cure any particular disease. Change our lifestyle, of course.
That is very important, Abhigya. So, speaking about Abhigya's day-to-day life, so I want to know how is your day is all about. So, starting from morning to evening, what is it?
Yeah. So I get up at somewhere around 3:30 to 4:30 in the morning a.m. And after that, I take bath and then do puja to God, and then come at exactly at 5:30, just before the sunrise begins. If in summer, 5:25. At 5:30 or 5:30 or 6 o'clock, I do my Sandhya Vandanam in the morning for the sun god, the ablution of dawn. And then after that, I also cook if I would like to cook at that time, or help my sister in making something like a smoothie, or in the morning some nuts and bananas or whatever it is, basic breakfast. And then at 8:30 we have a proper breakfast, because our body's acids will be active during the morning, so we should take a proper meal. And my mother and our whole family takes a meal cooked purely in mud pots and with no toxic ingredient, except if we are traveling, we use use certain stuff from outside. For example, the rice is bought from outside and other things like that. As far as possible, we take only naturally grown stuff that our friends who are growing organic stuff grow. So we only buy those type of things, and our food is completely free from toxins as far as we know. Only sometimes we use certain certain vegetables that are bought from outside. That's it. And after that, I do my Madhyanikam at 12 o'clock, the Sandhya that is done in the middle of the day, in the midday. And after that, I also, during the whole day, I study and I do a lot of research. After 3:30, I start playing with my sister, or if there is any friend, with a friend, and with the cows mainly. So we touch the cows, we connect with nature, we play with the mud. And also, not only this, we play indoor games also, like board games, various board games, and many more things. And I play for at least 2 hours in a day, 2 to 3 hours. So give a lot of rest to the body, and also do a lot of physical exercise. And along with that, in the evening at 5:30 to 5:45, I do the evening Sandhya, the third time. And after that, at 6:30, I drink milk, and 7:30, I sleep off.
Oh, so you sleep at 7:30.
Yes, 7:30. So because I have to get up at 3:30 to 4:30 in the morning, we sleep at 7:30. Me and my sister. The time of sleep is less important. Is actually more important than the time of getting up, and both have to be at the correct time. Today's people are sleeping in the midnights and getting up in the midday, and this is one of the most horrible things. In fact, the whole day of the English system has been devised this way. The day begins at midnight, and the day ends at midnight. And that is a very bad system because the day begins with the sun and the day ends with the sun. And the night begins with the sunset and the night ends with sunrise. This is our Vedic system and this is the most scientific. And the modern system of 12 o'clock to 12 o'clock is absolutely wrong. So we follow the Vedic system of sunrise, man begins his day, sunset, man ends his day.
Okay. So Bigya, share some of the few tips to our viewers so that they can follow a very peaceful and healthy life.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you, Bhaiya.
So I want you to share some of the tips from our viewers so that they can follow a very peaceful and healthy life.
Sure. So number one, as I said, is that peace comes when we have faith, and faith is only in the only stable entity. We can't have faith in anything that is not stable. And the only one who is stable, only one who never changes, the only one who is eternal is God. And God can be in any form, in any religion. We, in India, most of us actually worship various demigods and deities, and they are all are manifestations of God. They are different forms of God. They're different powers of God. They're different shaktis of God. So we worship them. In various religions, they worship different types of deities, and all these finally they have faith, and that faith is one most important thing to give us peace. When we have peace, our mental health is fine. When our mental health is fine, our physical health is fine. And that was only found by Ayurveda in the beginning, psychosomatic nature of a disease. So what is psychosomatic? Psychosomatic means the body and the mind being grouped together. And that's when a disease is cured or formed. When our body is fine, that doesn't mean that we don't have any disease. Our mind also needs to be fine. So these two together have to be coupled. And therefore, we need to cure us of mental diseases. We need to cure ourselves of mental diseases. No one else can do it. We need to stop disconnecting from nature because we are natural beings. We are not made of the plastic. We're not made of computer material entirely, and we're not made of microchips and chips and all these things in our brains. So we need to connect more with nature, and we need to develop a contact with any particular animal like cow or a dog, not in an in an unhygienic contact, but in a hygienic contact with these animals, and develop an emotional feeling for them, and not slaughter or kill or eat any particular animal, as this increases our tamasic nature of our body. Not only that, it makes us completely bereft of any compassion even to humans in the future. So we need to become complete vegetarians and take care of every single animal as if they are our own children or parents. For example, at our home we have 7 cows, and all the 7 cows we take care of just like our parents and our brothers and sisters. And we also we drink their milk and everything like that. So we live a completely natural lifestyle, and we would and also we love living that way. That's what everyone should try, at least in a small way. Every day disconnecting from technology and connecting to nature is one of the most important things. And also it is immunity development and eating herbs for the good of the body, etc. So many things have to be done. I've mentioned them in my videos, and the audience can refer to them also.
So along with this tip, I request all our viewers to spread love as much as possible and make sure you are contributing towards a peaceful Mother Earth.
Correct. We need to spread love, not hate, and that is what is very important during this period when we have a faster method of information moving back and forth. We need to utilize it in the right way, because a method of information, we can't blame anything on technology. We need to use it in the right way. And therefore, we need to use all sorts of technology to spread love, as our information spreading method has become faster. And we need to every stage we need to spread positivity, spread hope, spread goodness, and not spread evil.
So Bigya, here's a question from our Facebook viewer from UK, that in the UK for 6 months in the year the sun sets at 3:30 p.m. and rising about 8 o'clock in the morning. a challenging half a year, which is hard to sleep and rise according to the sun.
That also you can follow according to the sun. So for example, 3:30, the day ends according to that particular place, the sun sets, the person's activities should reduce. The person's activities should reduce. If the person's activities do not reduce, that person will be unhealthy. So from 3:30, the person should slow down his day. If not end his day by sleeping, slow down the day. If the day is not slowed down, it's going to spell disaster, because the body automatically becomes weak once the sun sets. And if the person is supposed to get up, the person should get up 2 hours before sunrise. So at 6 o'clock. For 6 months of the year in UK, get up at 6 o'clock. That's perfect. Just like in India, sometimes we have sunrise at 6:30 or 5:30. We need to get up 2 hours before it. We need to get up at 3:30 or 4:30.
Okay. So, 2 or 3 last questions, Abhigya. Do you
Sure.
consider yourself lucky for all the guidance you have been getting throughout your life?
Of course, by God's grace, yes. And if I have got any guidance that is important, it's my duty to spread it. And that's what I believe is more important than just getting the guidance. And mainly it's my parents who have given me all the information source to spread across and grow in various directions.
Okay. So, Abhigya, we would all love to hear some of the shlokas from you, few important shlokas, and we want you to teach us the meaning of.
Sure. So I would just like to say 3 shlokas from the beginning of the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita has 700 shlokas, out of which I'm going to cite the first few verses of the 16th chapter. Okay, I'm going to start from the second verse, which is most important. It is about the good qualities we should develop every time. Ahimsa satyamakrodha tyaga shantirapaishunam daya bhuteshvalo luptvam mardavam hrirachapalam. Ahimsa satyamakrodha tyaga shantirapaishunam daya bhuteshvalo luptvam mardavam hrirachapalam. तेजः क्षमा धृति शौचम् अद्रोहो नातिमानिता भवन्ति सम्पदं दैवीम् अभिजातस्य भारत. And these 2 verses are very important. Ahimsa meaning non-violence, satyam meaning truthfulness, satyam akrodha meaning not having anger, not having unrightful anger, Tyagaha, meaning renunciation. Renunciation of objects. At least today, we need to start renunciating objects that we don't need and not develop attachment for them. Shantihi, that is peace. Try to encourage peace around us, not negative feelings. Apaishunam, that is not finding fault within every single person. Instead, finding goodness within every single person. Every single person, whether they are exhibiting negativity or positivity, have more positivity within them. It's just like a diamond covered with coal. So we need to recognize the positivity and leave aside the negativity. That's what is the meaning of apaishunam. Danam, that is charity to the right place and the right people who really need it at that moment. And the charity that makes us also feel happy mentally and develops a better psyche for us. Danam damaha, that means self-control from not doing things that are bad. So we need to do things that are good and abstain from doing things that are wrong. Damaha, yajnaha, sacrifice. We should sacrifice our belongings wherever necessary for the good of the world. One of the sacrifices are Agnihotra, etc., which the with our invaders used to say it's an absolute waste. But now the same people in the West are saying that Agnihotra is a very important ritual to cleanse the air, and therefore the yajnas is not only of the internal yajna but also the external yajna we should perform Agnihotra and fire sacrifice, etc. It'll purify our air. And danam damaha cha yajnaha. Swadhyaya, we should research constantly. Adhyaya means researching. Swadhyaya means self-study. Understand ourselves and also understand the scriptures. Swadhyaya means the study of our ancient scriptures. This can be in any religion, but I suggest that people should also take a look, especially at our Vedic scriptures, because they contain the seed of every single other scripture in this universe. So, damaha cha yajnaha, swadhyaya tapaha, that is penance. We should be able to perform penance in every sector. Arjavam. Arjavam is straightforwardness. In every single of our transactions, we should be straightforward. Rajutva, Arjavam, that is what it is. And for the meaning of the other shlokas, one can refer to my Bhagavad Gita 16th chapter video, which was live on June 21st, on the day of the eclipse.
So a very interesting question from Atul. Can you share some of the important facts about our country Vastu? What makes us such disturbance from our neighbors like war?
Actually, one very important thing is, before India was actually made of certain parts. Like Tamil Nadu was a separate portion, but we all recognized ourselves as one, Bharatiya. But we were not unified and made into one particular nation and cut off in the northwest. That is, the Pakistan was cut off from our country by the Britishers due to some political disturbance, before which we are all one. Pakistan was composed of the Punjab. Punjab is actually a Sanskrit word. Pancha, up. Up means water and rivers. Pancha is 5. So 5 rivers in one place is Punjab. And Punjab is not the present Indian Punjab, but there is one more Punjab in Pakistan. And the whole area was called Punjab. And there's one more area, Sindh. And this whole area was actually forming a beautiful shape of India. That was ancient India. And not only that, we had certain territories in the northeast of India also. Beyond, and in fact, Nepal was considered part of India, but having a separate kingdom. So that's how the whole of India was. We were unified in our minds, but we had separate territories for different types of people. So once this whole area was cut off, the northwest, according to Vastu, it creates disturbance from the northwest. And second of all, we have the northeast, the Himalayas, the tallest mountains of the world, the tallest mountain range and the highest peak of the world is located in the Himalayas. So this particular area is in the northeast, and Vastu recognizes this concept called Giri in the northeast, and that is actually a good thing. But when the whole nation is brought together and one border is created for the whole nation, that's when the bad effects of it play out. And from the northeast, we start getting trouble. So that is one more thing. And one more thing is that, yeah, these are the main facts of our whole country taken as one. But one more important thing to understand is we can't take a whole country as one for Vastu in certain conditions, because each country has a different geomagnetic line. Instead, we need to take smaller territories and analyze them separately, and even smaller territories. But yet the countries Vastu also, yeah, it does affect the country. For example, USA and China do have certain powerful Vastu. India also does have certain powerful ones. For example, the East is leaning like this, and due to the East leaning, we have a good intellectual growth. So those are many more things we can find out. Others are unknown, but we need to research more on it. And the reason why we have been so very powerful in the past, due to our culture, our tradition, and our science, is because our country is filled with so much natural heritage, and so many great souls have walked our land, and they have given us so much knowledge, and that's why we were so great. Not only the Vastu, but the type of people who live in a particular place also matter. Majority of people, if the majority of people are having faith in God, are peaceful and are happy and healthy, the whole country will automatically become a positive nation, growing in every single aspect.
That is actually very true, Abhigya, that we all have to work on a single goal and have to make a better place as a nation.
Yes, Priya.
Yeah. So a last question I would like to take from our viewers from Facebook is, do you believe we have our Asian knowledge stored in our DNA?
Of course. Yes, for example, every single creature has an instinct. And by science, it's proven that instincts are constantly changing in certain advanced species like humans. We keep changing our instincts. So for example, if we are constantly bombarded by the media saying that everyone is a virus, almost, we are getting to that verge of believing that we humans are ourselves viruses, and we should be scared of each other. So this gets embedded into us. And once it's embedded, more than being a joke, it's becoming a reality. So once it gets embedded, we start fearing each other and we start disconnecting from each other. So in the same way, if we start spreading positivity, that same positivity gets embedded within us. And our Asian knowledge, our ancient knowledge, our ancient Bharatiya knowledge is also stored in the same way. Yeah, for example, the Ayurvedic knowledge, etc. If we let it move forward, if we let it bloom, we'll be able to understand ourselves. We will disconnect from technology. If we just shut our eyes for a moment and ask our own minds, Is it correct for me to sit inside the whole day? Your body will move you to get up and move outside. If your body is really strong, it will say, get up, move outside, and feel the fresh air. So our body does have a lot of instincts. Every animal does have it. No animal will sit inside for more than 1 hour inside a particular room. No animal will do that. And we humans are also animals with a complex mind. So we must take care of this fact even more than other animals. We should give ourselves more exposure of nature than of artificial elements.
Okay. At the end, Abhigya, any particular message you would like to give to the people of the world?
Yes, taking the present situation, it is that we need to help each other physically and mentally, not spread fear, but hope. We need to spread courage among the people, and we need to battle every single situation by using our time-tested cures, Ayurveda. A particular cure doesn't become correct just because it is being researched by certain people who have degrees. A particular thing becomes correct if it's time tested, if it is properly researched. And Ayurveda is time tested and properly researched, whereas modern medicines are like in a hurry. So every medicine is being tested in a hurry. Animal testing, human testing in a hurry, and then it's out. And then when people suffer, that time the blame is put on the people, not on the medicines. So we need to get our ancient cures, use our ancient cures. We need to start boosting our immunity so that if there's any other pandemic in the future, any other epidemic or even an outbreak, we should be able to battle it because we humans have the system within us. Just like a computer has a software, God has given us a very advanced software which we are taking years to decipher ourselves scientifically. So we need to make use of this system. We need to boost and help this system of our immunity. It is capable of killing any virus if we give it proper care. And that proper care is what has been entailed in my video, Let's Keep the Virus at Bay. And you can watch that video too. That's one very important thing. And third of all, first of all, as I said, faith of God is very important. Faith in God. And for the future of the world, I would like to say that starting from this November 20th, there could be one more severe danger that will come up, ending the next year, April, that is 2021 April. It's and it's very important for people to stay careful this time, not stay careful by spreading fear, but by boosting everyone's immunity. This time we should be prepared. And if it's any other calamity, we should be prepared for every single calamity, not just getting hit by the calamity, not knowing anything about it. That's what I would like to say.
So I'm very sure, we all will take care of our immunity system.
Thank you.
So it was very nice to have you, Bigya. It was great talking.
Same here, Bhaiya.
And and I'm very happy that you shared a lot of your knowledge and experience with our audience. So we're very thankful to you, and also to all our viewers for watching us from past 1 hour. I'm very thankful to all of you to joining us, and we will be connecting with Abhigya very soon in the coming future as well, with more number of questions. Thank you so much, Abhigya. We wish you all the best. You are an inspiration and you are really amazing. And we want you to do more research and more workout, and so that it will be beneficial to the world.
Yeah, thank you, Bhaiya. Even for me, it was an amazing experience because the questions were so apt and so wonderful, and it was amazing connecting with you today.
Yeah. So best wishes, Abhigya. So
thank you, Bhaiya.
Yeah. Stay safe. Take care. Bye.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna.